The situation of LGBT people in Poland is really, really bad and it's getting worse daily. Since 2019, areas of Poland started turning themselves into LGBT free zones, which covers now 1/3 of the country. The aim of LGBT free zone is to ban equality marches and LGBT related events. The governing Law and Justice Party, which is very ultra conservative, with its president on the top, Andrzej Duda, who was just re-elected, they promoting homophobia, hate speech, and just everything that is to do with LGBT. They very against it. They highly influenced by Catholic Church, which is in Poland very strongly against LGBTQ+. Many authorities called LGBT a virus, a plague, something that shouldn't be even on earth. And the head of Law and Justice Party even said that LGBT is worse than communism. It is said that 5% of Polish population is LGBT. And at the same time, Poland is one of the worst places in Europe to live if you are LGBT. There are no any regulations or laws that protect the lives of homosexuals. I think the attitude of people towards LGBT has definitely changed, not in a good way. Poland decriminalized homosexuality in the 30s, and since then, homosexuality wasn't a topic of many conversations before 1970s. In the 1970s, during communism, there was an action called Operation Hyacinth, which was basically taking homosexual people and creating so-called pink files. I have experienced homophobia back in Poland, and I would never think I would ever experience this kind of thing at home. When I went to Poland this summer, I faced homophobia. When I was standing outside of my grandmother's house, someone went past in a car and they screamed, "Go back to the UK, fuck off," and "a faggot." And I never thought that in a place where I was born, something like that would happen. Few days later, another attack happened. I was on a bus and an ex-classmate from school told me I'm a faggot and I should leave. And I wouldn't even think that a person I know would do that to me, because I could imagine that everyone that I know were quite supportive. Well, it turned out the other way. When you are experiencing such a thing in a place which you are love, it's changing your perspective completely. LGBT free zones are mostly placed on the east side of Poland, which is more Catholic and more conservative. And often those areas are ruled by law and justice politician or a nationalist or a person who's got a strong connection with the church. My friend committed suicide back in 2010 because he was called gay, and because there is so much homophobia. People are really committing suicide those days, still in 2020. There were about 10 suicides reported in media linked to homophobia. I've absolutely no clue what's going to happen in Poland next. The government is not willing for any changes. The church is still very against homosexuals. To be honest, I cannot see a difference which is going to happen in my lifetime. I think some things might change in about 60 or 70 years, but there needs to be a high level of activism right now. There needs to be someone who raises the awareness of how bad the situation in Poland is for LGBT community. Because people want to live like normal humans. They don't want to be called an ideology. They just want to be human.